James.
Thanks, Shannon.
You're welcome.
Me too. Hey everybody, I'm James. I'm an alcoholic. So my sponsor was reminding me before we started, I'm glad we have this. I'm usually not that loud. So I'm glad we have this. Damn, there's a lot of people here. There's a lot of people. I'm just trying to get my train of thought about this. I was told some time ago not to really think about this and kind of let the message of AA kind of just come on out. And I hope that happens. There's a lot of newcomers here tonight. I'm here to tell you guys this is possible. This way of life is absolutely possible. Like Shannon just mentioned, I got my year's sobriety date is coming up tomorrow. It's June 15th of 2024. And thanks, guys. I can't do without you guys. And let's just say that my Father's Day last year was horrible. It was a really bad time. This thing got me again. And that's how this disease is cunning, baffling, and powerful. And I didn't believe it either. I thought that was garbage. I thought that was just something that everybody told me that, just to kind of scare me and get me off the beaten path. And it's absolutely true. This is like a very much a life or death thing. I'll just say for me. My original sobriety, I don't even want to say original. I came into AA when I was 19, and that date was February 28th of 2016. I stayed for 6 years, and I left because I knew better than these steps. I didn't want to relate with you guys. I didn't really care to. I thought you guys were kind of BSing on the smiling thing, and really I got everything back and more pretty quickly. And I didn't want a spiritual solution. I didn't want a spiritual solution anymore. The operative thing there, I didn't want this anymore. So I gave it up. And that was one of the worst things I ever did. So if you guys can't tell, I'm not from around here. I'm not from the South. I grew up in Long Island, New York. There, we got someone here. Good. We got a couple in here. There's a lot of transplants. I'm one of them. And we're going to go right from the beginning. I was born in 1996, October 5th. Whatever. I'm 28 years old. Anyways, so I grew up in Long Island, and I'm not going to try to dwell too much on the experiences. They're all, we drank, we caused havoc. People that I love started to not love me back, kind of deal, and I'll go into that a little bit. We do have some time. Up in New York, speaker meetings are 15, 20 minutes, experience, strength, and hope, and then we share. Then we go around to the room. When Shannon asked me, I was like, damn, there's a whole 45 minutes to an hour to fill up. I'm like, I can certainly run my mouth, but I don't know. I'll try to tell you guys what it was like more than the experiences, right? Ever since I was a kid, I didn't feel like I really fit in. And I think we've all heard that before and whatever the case. I just didn't, I didn't fit right with school. They said I had they said I had a learning disability. I was dyslexic growing up. I had an auditory and visual processing delay. I hate admitting that to a whole room of people, but, they said all the ADHD, whatever, you could throw it out. I just wanted to play soccer with my friends. I didn't really give a damn about learning math. I just didn't. So I started feeling uncomfortable and whatever, this and that, pretty damn quick. And I started acting out. I think I had this whole alcoholism gig when I was born. I think my behaviors and actions indicated that. And then when I put alcohol into this mix, it started to exacerbate. It got way, way, way worse. So that was the school experiences were this and that, and I was going to middle school and we're doing all this different stuff, and then we go to high school and I'm still making a mess of myself, and I couldn't figure this stuff out, and I didn't really want to be a part of it anymore. I was getting suspended every year. I think middle school I was introduced to pot, and I know this is AA. We talk about substances in our big book, sedatives and all those things. I won't dwell too much. It's alcohol in any form for me. I know that might not be everybody's cup of tea, but it's kind of anything that gets me out of myself is is something I like and I have an allergy to. And alcohol seems to be like the best one of them. When I come down to it, it's the first thing I tried really and the last thing I ended with. So I do identify with AA the most, and you guys have helped me so much. So, I started doing the wrong thing is what I'm trying to say early on. And I found a lot of solace in it. Like after school, they talked that 4:20 time. We would get a couple beers and whatever, this and that, and we would go hang out. And I don't know, I lived by the beach. I grew up on the beach, and in this nice little town called Northport. And I lived on this little place where there's a couple beaches around me, and you could do whatever you wanted. There was no patrol, no cops or whatever, and thank goodness, because they would have really had a field day with me at that time. And that was like every day after school. We would just do that. And I didn't realize I'd be so nervous up here. My goodness.
You got this.
I just didn't realize that was going to take over my life. I thought I was just having fun. And it was fun for like a little bit. I'm sure we could all think of that. There was good times, and then the bad times started to outweigh the good times drastically. Like serious things started coming my way at a really young age. I got arrested when I was 14 with possession of something. And I was already in some deep kind of stuff there anyways. I got arrested leaving the suspension school with stuff on me. And the suspension school was at the library. So I'm leaving the library and the cops clocked me, and I'm this little kid, and I was just well, I don't know what's going on from here. And really what came from that is they did some, they're like, don't do it again, slap on the wrist. And I was like, oh, this is how that works. All right, cool. I'll just make another boo-boo. It'll be fine. Like I said, I kept getting suspended in high school and this and that. And really, I talk about this stuff because my alcoholism unfolded when I was younger. And it certainly unfolded again in my 20s, but I just haven't thought about this stuff in a long time, to be quite honest with you. And I got suspended. I don't even remember for what. Each year I was thrown out for something. The final straw is I got to my senior year, and I walked in and I smelled like something I shouldn't have, and the security guard kind of clocked me, and he's like, you gotta get out of here. And I was like, well, I gotta go in here. What do you mean? And I went to the principal's office, and I loved when they did this. I was just defiant, and they did one of the, you're really stepping over the line here, and I really just kind of went like this and stepped over the line. They didn't like that at all, and I left. I just dropped out of high school from that point. That was the beginning of my senior year, and I was proud of myself at the time. I was like, oh, look at that! I made a decision for myself. I was so unhappy. I didn't even realize. I was devastated. I couldn't even deal with that. I think as an alcoholic today, I've come to terms with that. I'm really poor with handling my own emotions. That's why I come here every day. I'm really bad at handling emotional situations or gauging myself emotionally, or I could tell you what's wrong. I could take your inventory, but I'm not going to look at myself, right? And that was what I was doing back then. I just used it as an excuse to party, I think. And I did. I always hung out with the older kids, and now I didn't have school, this thing anymore, taking up my days. And I worked in these, I was working great jobs. I was working delis in New York, cutting my fingers and stuff on meat slicers and, getting painkillers and whatever, this and that. It was just it was chaos. I don't really know how else to put it. When I left high school, that was definitely a time where I was cool, I'm going to let this run rampant for a bit. I had another run-in with the law when I was 19. I had a DWI and possession charge in front of my elementary school. And I was working as a butcher at a grocery store called Stop and Shop up there. I don't know if they're down here. And I was getting messed up every day at that job anyways. And I was closing the store with this kid one night, and we're cleaning up. And I was like, hey, do you want to go get messed up after, whatever, we can go to the beach? And he's like, yeah, man, he's a cool kid. And I was like, great, let's go do this. And that was the first time we were drinking over the beach. It's 10 o'clock at night. And he's looking at me. He's like, yo, you drank more than half the beer that I brought here, that I just bought. And I was like, thank you again. I really appreciate it. I was like, man, you really did me a favor. I love that. I was too young to buy that stuff. He was old enough to get it. And that was the first time someone really called. I felt like they called me out in a way that was not like the principal calling on you or like your boss coming at you. He was just kind of like, yeah, what are you doing? And I was like, well, I don't really know. Thank you. So we went home, and I made it home somehow. I drove home. I had my own car at the time, and actually I still drive that car today. I love that thing. Got me through quite a lot. And I drive home, and I forgot that, that other stuff I like to do in town. And I thought it was a good idea. I remember taking the beer out of my car, because he gave it to me, and I put it in my room, and I went back out into town pretty drunk to go pick up some stuff. And I see the red lights behind me. And I remember I smiled in the rearview mirror. I was like, oh, I got to play this mini game before I go home. Like, this is insane. I had such a warped perspective, like an appalling lack of perspective is what they call it. What I've been told to call it. And that was it. Like, the cops, they got me. I'm sitting near my elementary school. My friends are taking pictures of me the next couple of days when I got out of wherever they held me. And they're sending me pictures of this stuff. And it just got bad. I really haven't thought about this stuff in quite a bit. And I was pretty beaten down. I didn't know what to do. I remember the lawyer told me that I had to stay away from drugs and alcohol for at least 2 years. They were going to take my license away. Thank God I had a lawyer. I had more than I deserved at that time. This guy was really good. And they gave me a Cinderella license, so I was able to go from work, to and from. And, I had a psychiatrist, and we found a loophole at the time that if you wrote on a prescription pad that part of your treatment was to go to AA meetings, that was your way and workaround around the Cinderella license. So I was able to do that. And anytime they pulled me over, there was a meeting probably an hour away from my house in Long Island called The Pit. And that was at midnight every night. So if they pulled me over at 10 o'clock, I would give them the script pad and say, I'm going to The Pit. I'd be going the opposite way. They wouldn't believe me at all. I got a few tickets doing that. Yeah, that was, and it spells the insanity that I was tricking them. I thought I was tricking them. They're obviously better off than I am, and I'm this dumbass kid. Even in sobriety at that time, because I wasn't doing this stuff. I was just, I don't know, there's a saying of the drunken horse thief comes into AA, what do you got? He gets sober, you still have a horse thief. You didn't change the person who walked through those doors, right? And that's exactly what I was for about 6 years. So, I don't know. I just got into all sorts of trouble. My life was chaos, and I think I spelled that out pretty good for you guys. That was before I was 21, before I could legally drink. I don't know why I didn't believe I didn't have a problem with this stuff back then. It's crazy. So I come into AA. My parents say to me one night, there's a young person's group in town, and I show up there. I longboarded there. I didn't have my Cinderella license yet, so I longboarded into town. No shoes, just like a little weirdo, just doing my thing. I showed up there, and there's a bunch of kids I used to sell pot to in there. And the one kid gets up and he goes, "We've been waiting for you." And I was like, you guys are going to get me out of here. I was like, that's crazy. But the important thing that I think of that happened that night is that I was shown the fellowship of AA. For the first time in my life, I felt like I belonged somewhere. Again, I wasn't doing the right thing. I came back the next day because a real pretty girl came up to me with a meeting list and said, "Come back tomorrow." And I was like, "You bet. I'll be here. And we went fishing that night. I never went fishing. I would go fishing and do other things. That was what I was doing on the side, fishing. If we were getting drunk or, whatever you could think of, that's what we were doing. And we all just went fishing, this group of young men and myself, right? And I was shown the fellowship that this was something where I could feel at least a part of, right? With these kids in town that I never really felt a part of. And for the next 6 years or so, we were all really tight. We go support each other at meetings. There's a lot I could say about that. We would support each other. That was the biggest thing I want to say out of that. And we'd all get into squabbles because we were dumb, young and dumb and whatever. And all of us would be like, "You got to call your sponsor." And I was like, "Well, I don't even work with him. I'm not doing a damn thing here." I'll tell you that's not the way to do this. And I wish I could back up and say that I took this more seriously, but this is just the experience I had. Yeah, those 6 years, they were some of the best times of my life, though, because I was finally living in a different way. Not all James's way, if that makes sense. Things were starting to get a little better. And I decided to go to nursing school. I went to community college, and I found out all these things, right, in that sobriety, that all these teachers telling me I was dumb and this and that, and I went back and I got a 4.0, and I was president of my school, and I gave my commencement speech, and I was like, you know what, maybe I'm not that dumb. All those diagnoses they gave me, I was really proud of that, and I don't mean that to be, look at this, but like I was really proud of that. And so I decided I wanted to go to nursing school. And like an alcoholic, I did things really, I just hit it hard. I got into an accelerated program. We would take about 28 to 33 credits a semester in COVID. So those are 10-week semesters. And I went up to Syracuse, New York, mainly because my best friend was up there. And I knew we could, somewhere in my head I had a reservation. I knew I wanted to do this again. I knew I could go somewhere else, the geographic, it's going to be different. It wasn't different at all. The only thing I was different is that I can go skiing about 10 minutes away from my house, and I love that. And I would get messed up on the chairlifts and blow off nursing school, quite honestly. And we had some good times. I met some good people up there. The main point is that I didn't finish nursing school because alcoholism came back into my life again, pretty active, pretty quick. And I used to hear when I was younger, and I didn't believe the old timers in here who have been doing this for way longer than I have and had experiences that I couldn't even begin to understand, that they were telling me the truth, that if you go back out, you're going to hit the ground running as hard as you ever have. And I did. Within about 2 weeks, I was doing things I never thought I would do. I was importing things to the United States from other countries, like drugs-wise, within like 2 weeks. That one still blows my mind. And I'm just like, I was getting drunk. I was driving around this town or city of Syracuse. I already had a DUI. You think I'd know a little bit better. And I did know better, but I didn't care. I just didn't care. That's my disease. I'm insane when I'm doing this stuff. There's no rational thought when it comes to my disease. So I was living with these two girls, and my roommate, who was from Turkey, I love this kid. He was my best friend. I loved him. Hakan was really cool. And the girls decided that my drinking was too much. And the funny thing that I think about this time is my birthday rolled around, and they said, oh, this place will give you a free pint of beer on your birthday. And they knew I didn't drink. But that's not their responsibility. It was mine. And they told me that. And I'm like, cool, let's go. So I went and started drinking, and they decided a few months after, they're like, James has got to go. And I just coincidentally left the program. My roommate Jess comes downstairs, and we had a nice little house up there, and she's like, "You want to go home?" And I was like, "Yeah." I'm going home. Security deposit was given back to me. There was no squabble about it. I think they were just happy to have me out of there, quite honestly. I couldn't blame them either. So here I am, like, doing it again. Like, I'm going to stress the insanity of this disease. It's insane. Meanwhile, I think I'm fine. I'm just dealing with life, right? Like, everyone's got it complicated and this and that. And I'm back home at my parents' place. And, again, I couldn't, like when I left high school, I couldn't deal with the fact that I just failed something else, or that I couldn't put my best foot forward anymore. And that really hurt. I'm definitely a bit of that depressive type when it talks about that in our book. That manic depressive type. I bring this book up here. It looks a little different. I put a little cover on it so I can read out in public and people don't have to know what I'm doing. They talk about that manic depressive type in the doctor's opinion, and a couple other types that I identify with wholeheartedly. I don't think there's one of them that I don't. Me and my sponsor were just talking about that before this meeting. I have zero solution without these rooms, these people in here, out of my understanding. So I'm back home, and I started trying to go to meetings again. And I left this portion, not to like backtrack or whatever. I got engaged to this girl when I was up in Syracuse, and I blew that one out like horribly. That was horrible. and she was a really good person. And like that just talks about we poisoned people's lives. Like that's what I was really good at doing. Like these really good people would come into my life and I would destroy it. It'd start off well and I'd destroy it. I went home and she went to go study abroad and came to visit me. I couldn't be bothered to go to Italy where she was. Where she was. I'm Italian. I'm not going there. And like that, I just popped back in my head. I can't even think of that. It was crazy this time. And I don't know. I'm back home, and I decided I need to get sober again. My actions were telling me I needed to. A head full of AA and a belly full of booze has been proven to be horrible. If you want to know what like a living version of hell is, it's like coming in here, finding this way of life, and then deciding you don't want this anymore, and going back out and kind of knowing maybe a smidge of a little better. Because I knew that I needed to do this. So I was out for 2 years when I relapsed, and I go back to the rooms, and I'm going to my old home groups, and my ego is flaring. I used to chair these home groups and this and that, and I'm an ego-filled alcoholic. I don't know about you guys. I have a lot of it when I'm out there drinking. And I showed up, people were like, wow, you look horrible. No bars held, right? They're like, you look horrible. And they were right. I was like 130 or 120 pounds, something like that, like gaunt, skinny, like this, bags under my eyes. I was like 26 or so, 27. I looked aged, like I just looked horrible, and I felt horrible. There wasn't a piece of me that felt good, but what I wanted is to feel like I used to feel, going into those rooms. And I couldn't get it. I would go to the meetings, and I would go home and get drunk about it, and I'd try to figure out why I couldn't get this. It's because I was blocked. I can't do this stuff. I can't do that kind of stuff and just come to meetings and get what you guys have. That's been proven to me many times over, because I would show up to meetings blasted. We had a New Year's Eve marathon and Christmas marathon. We would do meetings every hour on the hour for 3 days at my home group, and I showed up at the regular meeting, if you will, the regularly scheduled timed meeting, which there was a lot of people there, and I just did a bunch of stuff. And I showed up, and I had a smile on my face ear to ear. You couldn't smack that smile off my face, except they knew how. They knew to just tell me that you're not the James that we knew. And one of my really good friends, Erica, looked at me and she was like, "Oh, we're going to get you in treatment tonight." And I was like, "No, you're not. We're going to get hibachi." I was like, "No, we're not doing it. We're going to get Chinese food. We're having a good time." Again, I just pushed my will onto this kind of stuff. And we went and got Chinese food, and I didn't go to treatment that night. And when I got sober this time around, I made sure to reach back out and thank her for doing that, because I know that they were looking out for me. But I couldn't look out for myself. It's sad. I can't even. It's weird to think about sometimes. Just weird to think about. They say it's good to look at the past, but don't stare. And I'm thinking about it a lot more than I have right now. So, but I'm really glad that people cared about me like that too. And I keep in touch with her a lot. And the people up in New York that I got sober with originally. I talk to some of my best friends every single day on the phone. My best friend's name is James, ironically. He's really one of my closest people. And we talk program a lot. We live this now. I don't know how else to say it. We live this. Our conversations used to be silly and whatever else, and we would just yell at each other and call each other dumbasses, whatever, just call it stupid stuff. And now it's we talk about what we talk about with our sponsors, and how we're relating with the world around us, and what we thought about some meetings and stuff like that. It's very different. And so finally, my family decided to move down to North Carolina. I still don't know how I ended up here sometimes. I'm I just woke up and materialized in North Carolina. It's, but thank God. Sobriety I have down here, and the life I have down here is nothing short of a miracle. We were packing up the house, and I was hanging on by the skin of my teeth. I started going to meetings, and I'm trying so hard. I still wanted to use. I was just stubborn. I wanted to get drunk, and I did a treatment facility. I did a detox, medical detox. I needed it at the time. and that was like 6 or 7 days. Again, I started going to those meetings, and I wanted to use and think about I moved down here 2 months sober. And I don't know, the geographic isn't the answer, but I certainly didn't feel at home anymore in my old town. And that might just be because of where I was at, like in my own head or what. I was happy to go somewhere else, actually. I spent 27 years there, and I was happy to see anything else that worked. So I show up to this building, not knowing anybody, knowing that any AA room that I go into is home. I knew that, but I didn't believe it at that time, right? So there's a small meeting here, and I think I saw Jim walk in, and Jim was there, and a few other guys. And we do coins in New York every month on the month, and there's some meetings that do them down here too. So if you're looking for your chips, there's meetings that do them every month on the month. This one was not that. It was 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, and I came down here 2 months sober. I wanted to get my chip at this meeting. I remember I got up for my chip after Jim said, 1 month. And before he even could say 3 months, I just got up because I knew it was coming next. And I grabbed the 3-month chip, and I was like, oh, this isn't for me. And he grabbed 2 1-month chips and stacked them on top of each other and told me to keep coming back. Yeah, man. That was some good stuff, and I'm glad I listened to you, Jim. I met some really good people. Like, bottom line, I met some really good people. And there wasn't a lot of us there. We were in that side of the room. Might have been like 10 people tops in that meeting. And what I mean by that, it's not the quantity of people, it's like the quality of people, and we got that a lot in here. I mean, everybody I know in this room, I haven't met anybody in AA that I could say that I really dislike. If I could put it that way, like, you guys all have my best interests in mind. I've never been anywhere that I feel like that. This is a really special place, so if you're thinking of leaving, I'd really suggest that you stay, because there's just a lot of good. I can't explain it. It's magic when you walk into this place. I mean, is it magic? It's the 12 steps to Alcoholics Anonymous. It's not magic. This program does for me what I can't do for myself, like anytime. And I don't care whatever length of time I have. I'm never getting a PhD in AA. I'm just not. Like, this is something I'm going to need for the rest of my life, and thank God. This is one of the best things I ever found. The last thing I tried and the first thing that worked. That's what I was told, and I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. So I started coming to meetings down here in North Carolina. I met my sponsor at that meeting, my first sponsor down here. And we started going through the book. That was something I always chose the guy in New York who knew what he was talking about with the book, so no one would question me on what I actually was doing in AA. I just had the guy I could, be like, oh, you hear him at big book studies all the time. I'm obviously doing this. I never cracked that book open back then. So I knew I needed to do something different, right? Because when my solution was working, when this wasn't working anymore, I was told I needed to figure this out and do this the way that AA is prescribed, if you will, right? I just feel like I'm really rambling here, but I needed to do AA the way that AA was described. And so I grabbed a big book sponsor, someone who knew this better than I did. I still learn every day from this. I was reading before we had this meeting. I'm never going to read this book once and go, I'm never going to be one of those people who, page 46 has got, on the 3rd line, I just can't ever picture myself doing that. I hope I could be that. But what I get from this book actually tells me how to live my life. I didn't know they wrote a book about me before I was born.
Right.
They really did. I identify with everything in here. It's really crazy. And so I started working with that guy. We jumped into action on this. We started reading pretty damn quickly. Every other day, I'd say he'd have me over at his house, and we'd start reading, and for an hour at a time. I was told, I wanted, as an alcoholic, I wanted to go through this quick. I was like, I'll spend 4 or 5 hours with you. He's like, yeah, hold on. We're gonna treat this like a meeting, right? Because meetings are proven to work. We're gonna treat it just like that. And I like that because it gave me structure that I lacked, and I had to listen to somebody else other than me, which is really hard, really difficult, because I know everything. Proven wrong on that many a times. So we started reading this, and my life started to get better down here. I became employable. I became a son again, if you will. Like, I mean, my parents liked having me around. I live with my folks now. I'm not embarrassed to say that when I come down. I mean, I moved here. I mean, I don't know. Part of me had like resentment. I was like, I'm living with my parents. Like, thank God I'm living with my parents. When we moved down here, and that Father's Day that rolled around last year, my dad's like, yeah, we have 2 tickets to North Carolina. You're not involved in that. Like, you're going to be homeless in New York City. Like, have a good time. And I clawed my way through that, and I tried to prove to them that I was something else, right? So thank God I'm down here, and they allow me to be with them. And I try to be of service to them as much as I can. And the people in my life, my job, my employer, job and employer, same thing. The people in AA, anyone I come into contact with, because this is more than this stuff is way more about how I act outside of these meetings than I act in it. To be quite honest, I'm not concerned with saying the right things at meetings. It's the other 23 hours out of the day when I'm like unsupervised. Like, I mean, I just hope that I'm a decent person, you know, like, and this program gives me that. Me and that sponsor ended up parting ways, very amicably. And that's also something big in this program. I mean, if I cut ties with anybody for any reason whatsoever, we were mortal enemies. There was no coming back from that. And he's still somebody I call today for certain things, right? Thank God again for that. Thank this program for that. That I can still call on another man that, you know, whatever. It amazes me sometimes. I call this guy we went out to lunch the other day. And I'm thinking about all this stuff, and I'm just like, wow, this life still, it's got me. I don't even know how this stuff happens. So I'm working I work in the fitness industry. I'm a personal trainer, and I started working at Planet Fitness as their trainer. And the one thing that happened is that I stopped going to meetings probably about 7 months into this. I started getting a case of the efforts again. It's real, it happens. I forget where I come from. I have a built-in forgetter. It doesn't allow me to remember how horrible things were and how like depressed and how things were. So I get a case of this efforts or whatever, and I'm just kind of dumb. And I end up leaving this job after a bit because I knew AA had to be first. If I don't put this program first, I don't have anything else. That's like the bottom line that I've been taught. I don't have anything. And it talks about in here too. I've talked about it in meetings. We've had topics on this. Is that AA's got to be the first thing in my life, and like the ethical thing is that does family come behind that or this? It's like no. The bottom line, and I can't complicate this any further, is that if I don't do this, I don't get any of that stuff. My life just isn't good. So if I need to spend an hour out of my day with you guys, that's what I have to do. And thank God, like you guys are great. I have a full life in North Carolina now, and like it's amazing. Got a little cold last week. I'm still shaking this off. So I left that job and I came back to my meeting. My home group is the noon meeting in this room. And I really missed that. I didn't know how much I missed it until I walked back in. And you guys kind of welcomed me back in again. And I think it was about 2 months that I just didn't really show my face that much. I got too busy. Everything was too busy for me. And I showed back up here and I hopped back in like I was taught to do, which I've done before. Because I've messed this up before and I didn't want to do that again. And I was pretty depressed. Like the circumstances that surround that were weird. And I was really depressed and I came back in here and I just hopped back into action. I started talking to people again. I started sharing, raising my hand at meetings, letting you guys know who I am, that I have a problem and I don't want to drink today. And that's really what this comes down to for me. It's that when I'm at a meeting, I'm here because I don't want to drink today. So that noon group really saved me. And I got poached by my new boss now. He saw me working at my other job, and I'm really grateful for this because I love what I do now. I get to teach classes on like fitness and all this stuff, and they're crazy. They're stressful. They absolutely drive me nuts sometimes. We have class at 5:30 in the morning, and I'm like, who needs this at 5:30 in the morning? I don't know. People need to be like, I just don't get it sometimes. Man, the deck of cards I've been dealt in this life are unreal. And I can still be ungrateful for it. I still can wake up with the case of just like untreated. I wake up untreated every day. I got to receive those phone calls, those texts from the good people who remember me in these rooms, and they kind of remind me and put me back on my feet and let me know that I'm an alcoholic and I should see them or call them at some point today and get to a meeting. And I call my sponsor. I do what I can. And my boss is one of those people. I think you guys know the type of person that alcoholics can be, especially when they're sober. They're good people in these rooms. And I swear, like he's like an undercover AA or something. He's like the most like understanding dude. He teaches me so much. He's really patient. Like I never taught classes before this. And it's really nerve-wracking sometimes. Kind of like I'm nervous now. It's really nerve-wracking. And one experience, I get to expand my resume. And something that isn't even fully my career is something, I want to go back to school. I have like ambitions and dreams today. It's like crazy. I have a lot more than I deserve. If I got what I deserved, I would be in jail for a long time. I wouldn't be happy and smiling here. I would be, I don't know, I'd probably be dead. The things I like to do, I'd probably be dead. Like a lot of my friends, like it's really unfortunate. I have probably more than I can count on my hands from New York that just like passed away from this disease. That's weird. Like, my ex-girlfriend is dead from this disease. She 13-stepped me when I was 19. I walked into that meeting. And when I moved down here, she was found with a blanket over her in Philadelphia. And it just proves to me what this disease does, though. And like, I don't know, I've talked about like survivor's guilt with friends of mine and like what that feels like and why we get this. And there's no rationale to this, is that I just got to keep giving back what was so freely given to me. Doing these steps, like living this life is it's tough. It's not an easy road. How does the saying go? I forget it. I don't know. Something about sobriety isn't for the people who need it. It's for the people who want this, right? You're willing to put in the work for this. Today, I'm willing to put in the work to do this every day. That's something I can't say that I was always willing to do. AA is one of the greatest joys of my life because it gave me my life back. The first time I ever spoke, I spoke at a treatment facility in New York. And the meeting was a blended meeting where you could talk, you can come in from the outside and then people who are in treatment were in there too. And I spoke at 6 months sober. And one of the things I said is that if I had to pay for AA, I would never be able to pay for this like I did for treatment and stuff like that. The things that and I'm not talking material, the things that I've gotten back from this program are things that I could never put money toward, or I can never repay that kind of debt. I know that's real cheesy and like Hallmarky and whatever, but like it's really true. This life that I have is a lot more than I deserve today. There's a lot of great men in this room and women in this room who care about me, and I care about them, and it blows my mind. I thought my life was pretty much over, like some time ago. I'm told grateful alcoholics stay sober. I certainly hope that's true. I love this life today, and talks about the stream of life being packed today, right? And some 10th step that I do with a lot of the guys in here, is a stream of life packed out. It's packed out today. A lot of people who know me know that I'm constantly running around from this to that to the next. And sometimes it gets a little tiring. And sometimes I think I'm like, this is exactly what you prayed for. This is exactly what you wanted. Because a year ago, my phone was dry. I wasn't employable. I wasn't any of this stuff. And today, my life is like a really busy, crazy thing of all sorts of good stuff. I hardly have like any, I don't know. They crop up, man. Life gets lifey for sure, but I have the tools to handle it today. When something comes up that absolutely baffles me, I call my sponsor. I pray about it and I help somebody about it. Whether that means I pick somebody up for a meeting, or I get to chair a meeting, or I get to speak like I'm doing tonight. And I don't know if I mentioned I'm really grateful that I get to do this in the first place. I can't believe there's so many people here. I'm glad alcohol is still affecting people. It's just this room's full in a good way. This life is a lot more than I can say. So if you're new here and you're wondering if this actually works, this works. If you're anything like me and you're stubborn and you really just can't listen to people, what was I told? What was it, like, take the cotton out of your ears and put it in your mouth and like listen and really take advice earnestly from people? That's a good one, right, Shelby? That's a good one. Yeah. I was told that so much and I couldn't listen to it. Wow. And time goes really fast. I knew that was going to happen. That's good. Yeah, but if you're new and you're wondering if this works, I don't know. The reason I tell my experience and my strength and my hope about this is that I hope that you guys don't do what I did and come in here and then give it away. I was told when I grabbed one of these chairs that I'm sitting on $1 million, and like, don't. Why would you do that? That's like, it's common sense. Don't leave this place. Even when times get tough, this is where I know I can go, and people care about me. I care about these people, and I'm just running in circles about it now. I really am. And the cool thing is that I can go anywhere in the United States and know that, my sponsor travels a lot, and he'll tell me, he goes and gets a visitor's chip from someplace, right? And what that means to me is that you walk in and you're welcomed anywhere. I walk into a room of AA, I could go to the town over, I can go back to New York, I can go to Washington, I can go California. We all speak the same language. And that's what I mean. It's not about those experiences I shared, because we didn't come in here on a winning streak. I certainly didn't. There's no experience I'm going to tell you that's going to baffle you or be, oh, whoa, that happened? Like, yeah, it happened. It's what alcohol does to me. We all speak the same language in here. We know what goes on, what this disease does. So I really urge you guys to stay. And if there's a newcomer in here tonight, I was talking about this to someone the other day. If you hit a milestone, we have a surrender chip up here. It's the best white stuff in town. We have a white chip in here, and then we have a 1 month, and 3 months, and 6 months, and 9 months. And if it's your day or if it's the week that you get it, I had a huge problem with this. I wouldn't pick up chips in my first year when I was like 19, because I was like, that's too ego-filled, and I'm doing all this. And I'm like, dude, you've been ego-filled your whole life. Just get the damn chip. And what I've been told and what I understand now is that it's not for me. The chip is not for me. It's to show that this program works. Because if you're anything like me, you come in here, you don't believe this. So when I have tomorrow, that still blows my mind. That little birthday's coming up. So when I go grab my chip tomorrow, God willing, I go to bed sober tonight, I'm showing that this program works. And you just got to put in the work and do this. And amazing things happen. And I'm not going to graduate from AA. I don't get that year. Someone came up to me and said, what comes after 365, right? And I was like,